Hey everybody, it's your mad brother of the internet here to bring you your current events. Well, as current as I can make the events. They may be 1 or 2 days old. And other people may have covered. I'm trying. I'm trying. We are going to cover what exactly the phase-in process is. Because we all know Trump tries, and there are always people out there that are ready to put him on a cross. How good is this phasing process? Well, let's roll the intro and then get into the video, shall we? Trump is at it again. He got together with his task force about 6 days ago, so this is an older article because, you know, everybody wants to get back to work. Everybody's antsy. Everybody's seeing protests about them not being able to go anywhere because, you know, obviously being sheltered in is not a good thing for a lot of people because they start losing their minds. And then there's the argument about it going against the Constitution. And I'm not going into that because that's a whole bunch of fucking mess that I'm not going to delve into. Okay? We're not delving into that. That's not this video. That's a whole other saga. Anyway, he got together with his task force, President Trump did, and they came up with a plan of reopening the states because you can't go from a lockdown shelter in place to, yeah, you can go everywhere and do whatever you want, whenever you want, because there's idiots out there that's not going to, you know, maintain the status quo and keep themselves safe, and, you know, then we're back to square one. So what is this phase-in process and what is the benchmark? Well, the main benchmark in order to qualify, according to the Opening Up America Again guidelines, is that states must have a downward trajectory of both influenza-like illnesses and COVID-19-like syndromic cases, and also should either be a downward trajectory of documented cases or positive tests as a percent of total tests. In other words, that curve has to be flattening and show a pattern of having flattened for a certain amount of days in order for them to even start phase one. So what is phase one? After you have this, each of these has to qualify for these particular things in order for these phases to be triggered. So phase one, vulnerable individuals should continue to shelter in place. In other words, people that are, according to the CDC, listed as high risk. Anybody with any elderly, 65 or older, anybody with respiratory diseases, so on and so forth. 2, all individuals when in public places should maximize physical distance from others. In other words, still do that 6-foot rule. Socializing in groups of more than 10 people in situations where appropriate social distancing cannot be maintained should be avoided. Okay, so far we're being reasonable. 4, non-essential travel should be minimized. In other words, kind of like what you're doing now, but not as much as we're doing now. 5, employers should encourage telework whenever possible or return to work in phases with common areas closed. See, this is a chance for a lot of businesses that can offer teleworking to actually offer it, in my opinion, on a permanent basis unless there has to be an in-office meeting. Because if you can do a lot of the work you do in the office at home, telework saves you gas. That whole carbon footprint thing everybody keeps bitching about will be lowered. And, you know, everybody's happy in the long run because you're working from home. 6, schools that are closed should remain closed. Like the one here in Texas is closed for the rest of the year. A lot of them are probably going to be closed until the end of the year because it's already almost May. And most schools close around June. So, 7, visitors to senior living facilities and hospitals should be prohibited. In other words, no visiting of high-risk people in assisted living, hospices, and places like that. 8, large venues such as movie theaters, restaurants, and sports arenas can operate under strict physical distancing protocols. In other words, you can go, just keep your distance. Every other chair, every third chair, whatever. 9, elective surgeries can resume. This means people that are having, you know, those wonderful plastic surgeries that are unnecessary unless you've been in a car wreck or been disfigured, in my opinion, but whatever. And other elective surgeries, you can go back to scheduling them in business as usual. 10, gyms can open if they adhere to strict physical distancing and sanitation. I don't know why I keep wanting to say sanitization, so just ignore me. Sanitation protocols. In other words, as long as you guys wipe down your shit after you use your machines, which is what you were supposed to be doing before this shit happened, they can reopen. Use common sense. Nobody wants to sit in your sweat when you're done with the machine at a gym. Wipe the shit down. 11. Bars are remaining closed in phase 1. Now, phase 2 means there's no evidence of a rebound and that the gating criteria is still in place. In other words, they're still passing the gating criteria and there hasn't been any rebound and no respiking of any cases. They can go to phase 2. Phase 2, number 1, vulnerable individuals are still encouraged to shelter in place. 2, all individuals when in public places should maximize physical distance. In other words, keep your distance. Socializing in groups of more than 50 people now, when appropriate, but keep your distance. Non-essential travel can resume. In other words, you can go willy-nilly anywhere you want, whenever the fuck you want, under phase 2. Employers should encourage teleworking again. Whenever possible and feasible, with business operations or return to work with common areas closed. In other words, still keep those break rooms closed, still keep the cafeterias closed, and so on and so forth. But you can go to work as long as you stay in your office and take your own lunch. But again, like I said with phase 1, this is a great opportunity for a lot of corporations and businesses to do the teleworking thing on a permanent basis, or at least offer it on a permanent basis. 6, schools can reopen. 7, visits to senior living facilities and hospitals should be prohibited, so still no hospices, no assisted living, no retirement homes, none of that. No visiting ICU. 8, large venues such as movie theaters, restaurants, and sports arenas can operate under moderate physical distancing protocols. Check your states for the moderate stuff. I think that has to do per square feet, so be on the lookout for that. 9, bars may operate with diminished standing room occupancy where applicable, can't English, and appropriate, which means if you guys can keep 6 feet distance with each other in the bar, that's the standing room only rule, and bars under phase 2 are open, provided you guys keep your distance. It's all about keeping your distance. You gotta keep your distance. And don't let anybody else drink out your drink. Phase 3, states and regions with no evidence of a rebound that satisfy the gating criteria for a third time. Vulnerable individuals can resume public interactions. Freedom! But should practice social distancing. Personal space, yo. Personal space. Low-risk populations should consider minimizing time spent in crowded environments. Be that introvert. Channel your inner introvert. 3, unrestricted staffing of work sites can resume. In other words, you can go into break rooms, you can go to the potty, you can go to the cafeteria, you can converse with the people in the other cubicle. Business as normal, yo. Large venues such as movie theaters, restaurants, and sports arenas can operate under limited physical distancing protocols. In other words, every other chair, every third chair, so on and so forth. Still keep your distance and don't share the popcorn or the soda. Get your own. I know this shit's expensive, but get your own. 6, bars may operate with increased standing room occupancy where applicable and appropriate. In other words, let these businesses make up what is applicable and appropriate, because they know the rules and guidelines that they have to follow in order to keep everybody distanced, safe, and still, quote unquote, pack the house. So, be respectful of these establishments, because they're still trying to prevent, any spiking of this disease, because we still don't have a cure. They're testing vaccines all over the damn place, but we still don't have a vaccine and we still don't have a viable cure, so please be careful. A specific timeline wasn't issued for the reopening of states. Trump is leaving the governors of each state to set up a timeline for their own respective states, because each state knows what is good for their state, except for maybe Kemp and Ditzlis or Dittmer and others. But we're not going into Ditzmer and Kemp, because that's a COVIDious video. So yeah, Thursday's announcement follows comments the president made during a Friday briefing from the Corona Task Force, where he said, "I'm going to have to make a decision, and I only hope to God that it's the right decision." He told reporters at the time, "It's the biggest decision I've ever had to make. I have the great authority if I want to use it. I would rather have the states use it. I have absolute authority to use it." He's talking about the Production Act from World War II that has been enacted. He doesn't want to have to be a heavy-handed person. He doesn't want to have to say, look, according to this law, you have to do this, so I'm going to make you do this. He doesn't want to do that. However, in not wanting to do that. There's a lot of these governors in these other states that have taken a total authoritarian process to what they're doing, because Ditzmer has totally doubled down on the not wanting anybody to garden in their own backyards thing. Kemp, by the 27th, and this is going to be another video where I'm going to go into more detail, wants to reopen Georgia. Yes, the same Kemp that didn't realize that you can be asymptomatic with COVID-19 and be sharing it with everybody you come in contact with, because that's the Georgia governor. And boy, am I glad I don't live in Georgia anymore. Sorry guys in Georgia, I love you, but I'm just glad I don't live there anymore. Oh my God, the stupidity. There are going to be other videos coming up about this, so again, be on the lookout. And that's it for this video. If you wish your state to have a highlight in now the opening processes, if they're passing certain phases, I will be doing research and keeping an eye on that. If you guys are still under shelter in place and would like an update for that, you can DM me on my Twitter or my Instagram, where you can also catch bloopers for the filming process, because I've been uploading them there. I am also going to dust off my blog, which is here, and start making posts on it, so be aware of that as well. I also have a Redbubble merch store, a tip link, and so on and so forth, that are not only on my blog but in the description. The source for this particular article is also in the description as well. So there's a thumbs up, a thumbs down, a subscribe button. It's bright red if you're not subscribed to it. Not going to give you directions because you're a big person now, supposedly an adult of some sort of degree, and know how buttons work. There's also a bell that's as fickle as a pregnant woman in a grocery store that has skipped breakfast. Never do that if you're pregnant, because you put all sorts of shit in your cart. Until next time, guys, stay informed, stay calm, wash your hands, keep them away from your face, unlike me. And until next time, bye-bye.